0 to 1 is impossible. So I like to stick with tactics that help you go from 0 to 1, because I feel like that's pretty much impossible, right? You've done the impossible. So now 1 to 10 becomes a little bit easier. And then 10 to 100 becomes way easier because you've already figured stuff out. Making apps in 2011, and it was just on the side. So I had a full-time job in San Francisco running growth for a startup, and I was like a growth hacker, right? So a lot of the online marketing stuff. But started making apps, learning how to code, and started pushing it in the app stores. My son, who's 15 now, is only 18 months old. So I did a lot of kids games in the very beginning. So I launched these kids games. They're paid apps. Some of them were paid apps, and that was the way I was making money, through paid apps. Because back then in 2011, you couldn't do in-app purchases. So it's either free or paid. So I started making about $500 to $1,000 a month on the side. But I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I sold cassette tapes when I was younger. I always did all these side hustles, right? And so I was like, I didn't know what that would look like, but I noticed that the apps were continuing to grow, right? Like people were launching more apps. I started making more apps too, started making a little bit more money, but I knew that it wasn't enough for me to be on my own. So I love podcasts. So in 2013 was like, hey, I'll just launch a podcast. So that's 2 years after starting to build apps. I'll just launch a podcast to learn on apps, to learn from the people that I really admire. I didn't know anything about ASO back then. And so I learned through them. I just started interviewing some of my heroes in the app space so I started building an audience too. So I interviewed the co-founder of Shazam, the creator of Tweetbot, Clear. This is way back in the day, but we've interviewed Crossy Roads, Mafia Wars, Color Switch. And I started really learning from them, built an audience who then started coming to me for marketing help. Didn't know that much back then in 2013, but 6 months after starting the podcast, I was like, okay, feel brave enough. I'm going to take the leap and then go on my own and do this company on my own. So I left my job, my full-time job, and I pursued this full-time. And that's how the journey started. I mean, primarily through downloads. So we look at the entire funnel. Like when in the beginning, we're just focused on ASO, PR, and all that stuff. But as the app has evolved, because we've been doing this for now 10 years as an agency, as the app industry is involved, we've evolved with it too. And so right now we're really focused on the entire funnel, from top of the funnel. So whether it's ASO, ASA, Google Ads, TikTok, Facebook, all the way to the bottom of the funnel, getting the monetization correctly. And sometimes I'll look at a client, be like, you got enough downloads, let's fix the conversion rate, because I don't want to be an agency that just says, give me some budget and I'll get you more downloads. I want to be an agency that plays it smart and says, okay, well, how many downloads you have, what's your conversion rate, and let's use data to determine, one, do you just need more downloads, or two, do you need to fix this conversion rate because you could be making more money with the downloads you have. But one client, we helped him go from $1 a day to $200 a day, like that. Like in the very beginning, just fixing it, we went from $1 to $17, and now he's gone from like $30 a month all the way to $2,000 a month. And it's like, whoa, this is life-changing, because he's just an indie developer, and he made this app just as a way to teach himself how to code. And then another developer, he only has 15 downloads a day, so that's 1.5. He went from $250 a month to $1,000 a month, just optimizing his paywall. And so I've been saying, like, you don't need more downloads to make more money. You just got to fix your product, right? And we have a lot of optimization, conversion rate optimization tactics that we help our clients. So it is the entire 360 funnel that we really look at. Yeah, so like, I know the conversion rate is going to be a little bit lower. So I think, I'm not an expert on this, but I think the way that I like to think about our pricing techniques is, in terms of best practices, definitely show your paywall during the onboarding process, right? I believe that longer paywalls work better because people don't want to read, but they will read when they have to pay you. What we have experimented with is figuring out the right pricing strategy for the different markets, right? It's like, okay, well, the likelihood they're going to spend a lot in the US, fine, let's charge a lot more. If it's in India or other developing countries, well, maybe let's figure out the right pricing for that. But the best practices still hold true, right? And so maybe in other markets, you're like, okay, well, we have to think about an ad play. Whereas the US market, I'm going to be aggressive and do a hard paywall and not have an X on my paywall and charge them a lot more. Whereas in other countries, I'm going to have that X. I'm going to use ads to drive additional revenues. So you got to start thinking through some of that stuff. And it's a little bit more complex, but like, those are the things I like to start thinking about when I'm trying to think about how do we monetize in other markets beyond just the US. It's all across the board. So a lot of our clients are in India, right? We got a pretty good following in India as well. And so I think they're more focused on the US market side of things. We did work with a couple of different big apps within India, and I was giving them the same suggestions because I don't feel like my suggestions are based off of market per se, but as more psychology. And I think in the psychology realm, it's like we humans, it's more the human experience versus just numbers. So I think if you're asking me about categories, I'm looking at it all, right? Like, but I personally like to just I like the subscription stuff because I just find like it's the easiest one to get going and start making money. Like games, a lot harder. You need that retention. You need a good game. But with non-games, it's like subscription. The way I see it, Sanjita, is like for non-games, it's subscription drives retention, and for games, retention drives subscription. So in the Indian market, my clients personally are focused in the US market as much, but we do have clients other regions who are focused in the Indian market. We're noticing that different keywords are converting better there too, obviously. And then, so like from the downloads perspective, it's different keywords. India is a great market for this one client, but they don't have monetization, so we haven't really turned that on. But in terms of like keywords and growth in the Indian market, we've focused on ASA and then the different keywords. Developers tend to have this idea in their mind and they develop it. And then they're like, I spent all my money on development. I don't have any money for marketing. And that is the biggest mistake that I see. They just spend all their time building this like complete app. I like to start off with just a very simple app and just putting it out there. I've worked with many people that don't even care about ASO because they have a funnel, right? Twitter ads work. They convert. I know how to get the right cost per install to lead me to the right conversion rates, and I get a revenue, right? I spend $1, I make $3. So just really think through the funnel. Where are you gonna get your downloads? If it's gonna be ASO, really do the market research to make sure that there's actual traffic for your app. And then start thinking through that entire funnel. Like, so where's that traffic source going to come from? And then secondly, once they're in the app, really optimize the monetization so that you have the paywall during the onboarding, you're maximizing that, really paying attention and doing a lot of tests for that. 0 to 1 is impossible. So I like to stick with tactics that help you go from 0 to 1, because I feel like that's pretty much impossible, right? You've done the impossible. So now 1 to 10 becomes a little bit easier. And then 10 to 100 becomes way easier. Stop making the mistake of focusing all your efforts on just development. Really build a simple app and then launch it, see how it does, get the data, use the data to inform your next decisions. Too many times we focus on opinions. Like I'm so focused on the data side of things that my source is going to be ASO, but I'm letting the ASO, the keywords that are available that I know I can rank for, determine what app I build versus my idea for an app, right? Which was what I used to do. No, I'm looking at the keywords, really letting the data determine what I do next. I love it because honestly, if you're just giving me more data and I can use that data to like easily, now I'm not too familiar with the platform, but if I can easily test different paywalls, if I can change the targeting on my ads, right? Because that is something you should think about too. If I can do that easily within one platform and get the data that I need to make those informed decisions, love it. I think it's the future. Use it all. You know, I'm actually talking to clients. I'm like, look, think about ads. Don't think about ads as in like certain categories. You're going to be relying on ads like games, right? Like ad revenue is going to be a huge portion of your overall revenue. But for even like non-games, I'm thinking about like just put ads, because I want to remind people that there is a premium version out there, right? And so you're getting the less premium version. You're going to have to watch ads, because So I like to do all of it. You know, one client we work with, we helped him make more money with his ads. We've helped him make more money with in-app purchases just by optimizing everything. And I said, hey, think about affiliate marketing. I like a very diversified revenue stream so that you're not just reliant on one thing. It's just once you get to the 0 and 1, you're making this client that I was talking about, he's making about $1,000, $2,000 a month. We helped him make more from that. It's like, okay, he's gotten somewhere, right? He's gotten downloads. He gets lots of downloads. Now he wanted to make more money from the downloads. We helped him do that, made more money from the ad, helped him do that. Now he's already there. Now we can get clever and do affiliate marketing, things like that. So stay focused, and depending on the stage is where you should start testing out different things. Like I said, just focus on your numbers. Look, if you have downloads, I can fix that, right? I can help you more money. The downloads is the hard part. So really focus on where are you going to get top of the funnel? Because once you have the top of the funnel figured out, then I feel like everything else is easy. I just know, like, if you're getting $10 a day, okay, maybe not enough data to start figuring it out. Now, our case study had 15, but like really focus on the entire funnel and think about where you're going to get the downloads. Now, as much as I talk about ASO, it doesn't actually have to be a piece of the pie. You can just do the standard ASO, the best practices, and move on. Figure out what the funnel is.